It happens.
I try to tell my kids about. One minute. All right. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the school board meeting this Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. As we begin our program, we will open with an invocation. Please welcome Rabbi Elaine Glickman from Temple Emmanuel.
Thank you all so much for having me. Mishaberach Avotenu Ve'imotenu. God who blessed our ancestors, may you bless all of those assembled here today. In your name, the sages of my tradition taught that the world endures only for the sake of our children, and that a righteous person may make their home only in a community where children are learning. You have entrusted us then with the sacred task. We ask for discernment and understanding, the wisdom to recognize your will, and the humility to make your will our own. Please be with this board and with all those who serve our community's children now and in all the days ahead. May your goodness continue to rest upon us all. May the words of our mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Glickman. Today, our student representative is Hayden Heaney from Venice High School. He will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remove your hat and place your cell phones on silent, and please stand. Thank you for that. Prior to today's meeting, the board members and superintendent participated in a question and answer session with the STAR students from the Boys and Girls Club of Sarasota and DeSoto counties. STAR, which stands for Students Taking Active Roles, is a training program created to encourage youth to take active roles in their community. The students are here today in the audience, and if they'll please stand to be recognized. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us this morning. I will say they had wonderful questions. We really appreciate the engagement and really allows us to grow as a board as well. Moving on, our student representative today is Hayden Haney from Venice High School. Welcome, Hayden. It is nice for you to join us. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Mrs. Ziegler, and thank you, board. I'd like to start by, again, thanking the board and Mr. Connor, the superintendent, as well as the wonderful administration team at Venice High School for selecting us, because I would not be here without them. I'm a little biased when I say this, but I do believe Venice High School is the best high school in the county, and the administration team there certainly does make a difference. At Venice High School, I currently serve as student body president. I'm involved in numerous other clubs and organizations, and I'm also the student representative to the City of Venice's Citizens Advisory Board. After finishing this year as a senior, I'm going to go to Florida State University and pursue public policy, political science, go Noles, and hopefully go to law school after that. So again, thank you so much for having me today.
Well, wonderful. We had a lot of Knowles fans in here. And I know that we have a certificate of appreciation for you and really wish you the best of luck in the future. And thank you again for being with us today. Moving on, I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda that the posted editions after the original publication. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the agenda February 17th, 2026, as submitted on February 10th, 2026, with the following changes. Addendum added to the Human Resources Personnel Report.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote on the agenda. And the motion to approve the agenda passes unanimously, sorry. Moving on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to begin with our consent agenda highlights. Good morning, everyone. Item 9.1 is the approval of our vocational instructional program agreement between the school board as well as Deb's Destinations LLC. This is going to give students, the eligible students with disabilities, direct instruction with work skills, on-the-job preparation, which is a high priority for us as we look at students really preparing them for that post-secondary life. And so they're going to get employment training. It's going to help them with independent living. And so we have a portfolio now of several of these agreements that we're so thankful across this county that there are businesses that are willing to partner with us to help our students with disabilities really gain those employment skills and be productive citizens. So this just adds to that. 9.3 is the approval of agreement between the State College of Florida, Manatee, and Sarasota County. This is an extension of our previous 3-year agreement with the State College of Florida. This is going to allow us to provide clinical experiences and connections with the health professions program. So that includes nursing, dental, occupational therapy assistants, physical therapy assistants, and radiography on site with us. And we always love to have interns and field experiences here so that they can get exposure to the wonderful things happening in Sarasota County schools, as well as the University of North Florida, Ospreys. Just so you know, I graduated from the University of North Florida. Not biased, right? Right. This is a new affiliation agreement that's going to allow students from UNF to do their observations, their field experiences in teaching internships with Sarasota County schools. Item 9.7 is the approval of 2627 elementary before and after care fees. We bring this item to the board every year. Fortunately, there are no changes into our schedule, but we bring this for annual renewal. It is that time for our parents to sign up for the Florida Prepaid Open Enrollment Period. It started on February 1st. Plans can start at just $29 per month. They have a new simplified structure and online enhancement to the experience of registering and monitoring your prepaid plans. And so families, get online. It's never too late to start saving for college. And I know that because I got one starting this year. So if you are a parent of an ESC student in our district, the Florida Department of Education puts out an annual survey, and we are asking for our families to submit their surveys at the link that you see here. Also can find that on our social media and our website for further information. Sarasota County Schools and the University of South Florida College of Education are celebrating an innovative partnership as we begin programming at Gulf Coast Academy of Innovation and Technology at Brookside, also known as GCA. Beginning next school year, Brookside Middle School will become the Gulf Coast Academy of Innovation and Technology and serve as a district-wide middle school magnet offering advanced and rigorous coursework and delivering hands-on experiences. And these are the 5 designated pathways that students will be able to explore beginning in the 6th grade. And as they move up to 7th and 8th grade, they'll get to hone in on one particular focus. But we're looking at things like machining and robotics, artificial intelligence, marine and agriculture sciences, cybersecurity, game development, and our very first esports club. We're really excited. We're working in partnership with the University of South Florida, who are really excited to see this program flourish. It is open enrollment period right now. Our school choice window opened this month and will close on March 2nd. We have a variety of educational options for people in our community, whether you're taking advantage of one now, maybe you're looking to shift within the district, maybe you're new to the district. Go onto our website, learn about all the exciting things that are changing, some of the exciting things that are continuing, and looking forward to seeing everyone sign up to say yes to SCS. And then as well as our VPK preference from February 2nd to March 2nd, that period is also open as well. And then I just wanted to share a highlight before I close. We had what was called our MVP Institute, also known as our Winter Teacher Institute at Venice High School. It was a powerful day on a Saturday where for the first time in a very long time, we've been able to create teacher-led professional learning for teachers. It was for teachers, by teachers, and they got to design these professional learning experiences. Teachers from all around the county came to participate. We had a great keynote speaker to talk about behavioral management, and it was a wonderful day. It was our inaugural event. We can't wait to see this happen, but we're going to give you a short little video to give you the highlights of that day.
We're here at the Most Valuable Practices Institute, which we're very excited. It is our first ever For Teachers by Teachers Institute. Today, everyone is learning and collaborating based on what they believe they need to continue to advance their practice.
Our leadership session in Sarasota County. This is kind of our little passion project that we wanted to improve the professional development in our county, and what better than by actual teachers in our county.
It was a real interesting class about utilizing CAD design in your classroom to make it so that there's a product that students will be interested in making.
I liked the opportunity to share some things that I enjoy using in my classroom.
We're all lifelong learners. So having an opportunity to come together with educators from across the entire district and grow and learn together, there's nothing better.
I had participants who were elementary teachers and middle and high, and all of them seemed to leave with confidence in using some of those strategies, so that was exciting.
I really enjoyed the keynote speaker that they chose. Having something with behavior coaching, I think, was beneficial to everybody. A lot of people, when I was looking around, were really enjoying or engaging in the key speaker, so something like that I think is really beneficial.
I think this is the way to do it, with it being offered on a Saturday and them being incentivized, being paid. I think that's great because we want to get better, we want to have ideas. So to find time during the school year, we're wanting the thick of it with our kids and be able to bring people together and learn from other teachers. I think that's a really great concept as well, that the experts that are here today are all teachers within the district.
An event like this couldn't happen without the support of the Charles and Marjorie Barancik Foundation. They have been critical partners for us for so many years, and this is just another example of investing in the great quality teachers that we have to maintain that excellence here in Sarasota County.
I hope they leave with strategies that they can use right away. And based on the keynote speakers and what I've already seen, they'll be able to do that.
Like the students, I'm just looking forward to learning new things.
I want to thank everyone who's been involved in the planning and coordination of our first MVP Institute. I can't wait to see what next year holds, and I expect to see you there.
It was a wonderful event. I, again, one more time, want to thank all the people who have been involved in planning this event, and a shout out to the Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Council, where they really took an in-depth approach over the course of several months to plan this event out. So congratulations to all on a very successful event. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. That looked awesome. Really appreciate you sharing that. Moving on to item 5.1, public hearing for recommended instructional materials. Mr. Connor, can you please present on the public hearing that we are moving into for K-12 English Language Arts for the 27-28 school year?
Yes, as required by state statute, a 20-day public review of recommended materials and a public hearing is required before the board can vote for the adoption. The public review requires that the district provide digital access to the recommended materials via the district website. The public hearing today is to provide an opportunity for the community members to share comments about these materials with the board. The board will not take action at this time, but will be asked to vote at the next regular scheduled board meeting on March 24th, 2026. So at this time, Madam Chair, you may call for public comments.
Wonderful. So we have a series of public comments. So first we're doing the public hearing. You will have 3 minutes to speak on this item specifically. First is Teresa DeWitt, and next is Barbara Vaughn. And if you could please state your county of residence when you come to the mic.
Okay, I'm Teresa DeWitt, and I'm with Sarasota County. And I would like to speak today on the curriculum. We have empty seats, empty classrooms, teachers' contracts not being renewed, behavioral staff and mental health professionals and security aides being let go. This district was given $100 million of COVID funds to assist with the recovery and restoring of academic excellence, including literacy. This district continues to have a net loss of students in traditional school seats, regardless of how many families are moving into our district. I've been waiting 3 years for this discussion today. I'm a disenfranchised parent, and my 5-year-old twins were removed from their elementary school after completing kindergarten due to a memorization mentality approach with sight words as true saturation of phonics. I was told phonics was removed from our school district in 2017, and parents were not informed. I want to inform the board the A-rated score of our district is not the actual experience of all of our parents when they ask their children to read at home. Benchmark is not getting the job done. In 2021-22, our proficiency at third grade was 63%. 2022-23 was 62%. 23-24 was 64%. Before Benchmark, this district used Wonders, which the teachers really liked, and our rating was 68%. Our district was 5th in the state. With Benchmark, our district is now 10th in the state. Our third grade reading is now 67, a gain by 1%. None of you on this board are literacy experts, and neither am I, so I went to the committee notes. Here are a few of the comments that concern me. Benchmark has made no progress in phonics as of 8/25. Due to large stockpiles of Benchmark textbooks and a 5-year commitment on other programming, this should be the choice. Due to the budget crisis, Benchmark should be chosen. Ms. Ziegler, does this district have a budget crisis? Are we choosing curriculum based on dollars or efficiency? Because where I went to school, 63 to 67% is a D, not an A. Ms. Rose, you demanded a line item audit for 3 years. Did you get it? That would be no. When was the last time the audit committee met? According to public records, it was 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I have spoken to teachers who have said Benchmark is not working. UFly is a great start, but they were told the teacher vote between Wonders and Benchmark was a tie, and Benchmark should be brought forward because of what we had in stock. Will the district be making those teacher votes a public record? I would like to recommend the board look at a small district in Steubenville, Ohio, which for the last 25 years have maintained a 99% in third grade reading for 25 years. Sorry. I will be filing an objection to benchmark for the following reasons. The cost was not attached, the potential contract and language wasn't attached, and benchmark also has established a new relationship with Castle and social emotional learning, but they've added DEI language in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Vaughn and Corinne Prochnow.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Vaughn from Sarasota County, and I'm wondering where everybody is this morning. We're talking about a reading program for our students. Is there anything that might be more important to them than the reading program that hopefully is going to prepare them for the future? And yet, they're not here. Where are they? Did they follow Xander and Tom's little herd of sheep and say, oh no, we're not going today because we got in trouble last month when we came and our time away from class is going to be counted against us?
Mrs. Vaughn, can you make comments on the instructional material, please?
Yes. I studied the welcome message from the Florida Department of Education, and then I looked at our state Board of Education. They both have very encompassing ideas about providing skills and learning opportunities for our kids. Nowhere in either of these is there a word about students coming to rant and rave about other things besides their education that they're trying to get in front of the public. Students are the recipients of what we do here. They don't direct it, they don't guide it, they don't set policy. If they thought they did, they might be here today to take a vote on the reading program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Corinne Prochnow. Thank you. I'm sorry. I will remember next time. And Bill Neese.
Hi, I'm Corinne Prochnow, Sarasota County resident. I'm going to speak on the recommended instructional materials for K through 12. When I first looked into it, I appreciated the process of bringing teachers and parents together for their input. We do need more of that and have students included, but I feel like we're still not listening. We need their input from teachers, students, and parents. They need to be acknowledged because they're the ones living this truth. They know best what they need of their education or expect through education and safety. Students, teachers, and parents need to be welcomed. We had our turn, and it's this generation's turn. This is their lives you are making decisions on. This is their future. They want better. They deserve better. We can do better. You can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Neese and Cassie Jewell.
Thank you. My name is Bill Neese, and I'm a resident of Sarasota County. Just to make a couple of comments. First of all, a very important item within this is consumer education and education. I looked up on the website. There's a lot of good things about the instructional material that is being put forward, but I think the reality of debt issues and how that affects our current generation is very important, and there needs to be a higher level of emphasis on that, because within education, normally you think, well, the parents should handle that. But the truth is that many parents themselves are encumbered by debt to an extent that they are overburdened by it. And this begins at a very early age. And so instructions in relationship to that and how that affects your total life. You've probably all seen those little things when you get your credit card. If you pay off here, it's this. If you pay off here, it's this. You know, about 25 years later, you'll be paying off this much and owing this much. Does anybody pay attention to that? No, but they pay for it. And I think our young people have to have this solid foundation. So I highly encourage the development of a very strong educational path to this. Now, obviously, our legislators have encouraged this, and we just need to have the best. The interactive nature of the website was good. I felt like, it gave good illustrations. The type of illustrations it gave were good as it relates to the normal youth. But that other element I didn't think was as strong as it could be. Now, as related to the reading issue, I'm a big advocate of that. And I feel it's very important, the foundational issues of phonics. I wouldn't want a campaign to make that a reality. Within this district, we run multiple, multiple preschools. And in our preschool work, using our Rocket Phonics system, we have on average kids reaching, as they exit into, which would be kindergarten, an average of first grade reading level, and up to 2.3 out of that program. So I firmly believe in a strong phonics program, and I believe that has to be an element that is firmly undergirded in this curriculum. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next is Cassie Jewell and then Sandy Armstrong. I see Mrs. Armstrong. So Cassie Jewell, last call. Okay. Come on up, Mrs. Armstrong. You take your time. You're fine.
Good morning. I'm Sandy Armstrong from Sarasota County. I wanted to talk about this because go back 68 years. I was about the shortest kid in my class in second grade. And I had been in another school district in another town where they taught sight reading. And if my parents had read me a book enough, I could memorize it and, quote, read it. I wasn't able to do sight reading. So I got to second grade, I was really little, and my parents said, do you think we ought to put her back a year? And they didn't really want to do that. But the teacher said, I get a lot of kids. I get several kids, a lot of kids who can't read in second grade, and most of them I can teach. And what she taught was phonics, and I could read. And after second grade, I ended up in accelerated classes. I did great in junior high, high school, college, went to graduate school. It made a huge difference in my own life, and I can't help but think if we would move towards phonics, teaching phonics again, that it wouldn't help our children. And we definitely need to help our children because it can influence their future and their entire lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public hearing portion. We will move then to the general hearing of citizens for items on the agenda. And I will quickly read our rules of engagement, although everyone seemed to do wonderfully in that public hearing. Each speaker will state their full name, county of residence for the record, and will have up to 3 minutes. A timer will signal when 1 minute remains. Please conclude promptly when the timer ends. Respect for divergent opinions shall be recognized for all speakers. Audience members are requested to listen quietly and respectfully. Applause or other interruptions that disrupt the meeting will not be tolerated. Any person that interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of the meeting will first be warned that such continued interference will result in a removal and will be removed. There are speakers in the room behind me that allow board members to hear public comment when stepping away from the dais. When your name is called, please approach the podium. If you choose to pass, you will forfeit your time to address the board. As a reminder, a recording cannot be played during your 3 minutes of public comment. We appreciate your cooperation, and let's get started. We have a total of 4 speakers on agenda items. First is Teresa DeWitt, and second up is Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley.
So I'm Teresa DeWitt in Sarasota County. I'm going to speak really quickly. It's more of a question, Mr. Connor, on Agenda 10. Item 10, when I looked at the agenda items, it states you want to spend $1.8 million for 1 year of benchmark for a gap year. I need, maybe in or in general comments or something, you can explain what the gap year is. And I'm very concerned about benchmark not meeting the cornerstone foundational phonics premise that we really need in this district. Also, when I read the previous outcomes, the words increase inclusivity, what this referring to in terms of elementary school ELA programs? It sounds like a DEI language phrase. Again, I object to benchmark continuing in this district due to the new embedded DEI goals in the new versions of benchmark, which violates DeSantis law. And then agenda 9.9, I would like to move on. And first I would like to say my comments are in reference to a system, not individuals. Everyone has worked hard. And when we talk about numbers, today is about numbers, today is about data. But at the end of the day, it's about really small children or teenagers who are really trying their hardest and teachers are really working. So I want to first say that, okay, I acknowledge that. I would first like to share a personal example. When I was in the 2nd grade, I fell in love with math. For the next 8 years, I took every math class that I take. But I sat down with my guidance counselor, and she asked me what I wanted to do with my life. I told her a math teacher. She then told me if I didn't get married, I would never be able to support myself. It changed the direction of my life and my story. First, I want to talk about the human resource report. And Mr. Connor, when you go in your report, and so I look at the pay codes, it doesn't give me that information. I have to dig in the district information to find that. And so I wanted to go over a few things. Under the assistant superintendent and salaries, Group A, minimum is $187,000, maximum is $225,000. Group B is $171,000, maximum $2,017. If you go to the principals, an elementary school principal is $168,000. High school, $189,000. If you go to teachers, $60,000. They're on the front lines. They do it all. This district cannot afford for teachers to not be paid what they're worth. In no district across this nation should administrators be making 3 times what a teacher makes. That will not continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley, and then Parker Sassville, I think.
I'm Duff Smiley from Sarasota County, and I'm here to recommend approving the charter for the Dreamers Academy, item 10.4. We need to give every child every day the best chance to succeed. No single school model meets the needs of every student. Children learn differently. Families have different priorities and values, and our school board should support those realities. That is why charter schools and the movement of schools of choice are so important. Charter schools give parents power and options. These schools offer various programs to meet the individual needs of the students and the values of the parents. For parents, school choice is something fundamental. The right to choose the school that aligns with their values, their expectations, and their child's abilities. Students are not trapped in poorly performing schools, and when parents have options, public schools also rise to the challenge of competition. Competition drives improvement, and every student, whether in a public school or a charter school, benefits from competition. In Florida, we lead the nation in educational choice. We have our family have access to charter schools, magnet programs, career academies, virtual options, and scholarships that empower them to do their best. This is not about weakening public education. It's about strengthening it by ensuring every school is responsive and focused on the student. Many students leave public schools because they fear ideological indoctrination such as DEI, CRT, LGBTQ, and schools of choice allow parents to select schools that align with their values. Looking at the Dreamers Academy specifically, they started in 2021 with 190 students. This year they will
are projecting 716 students. That's 500 students in 5 years. The numbers tell a story of how the school aligns with the needs, values, and academic excellence for many students. Subsequently, many students are moving their students to this school. And I believe it's good benchmarking to find out why students go to different schools, and this appears to be a very popular school. I highly recommend approval of the Dreamers Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next is Parker Sassville and then Cassie Jewell.
Good evening, board members. My name is Parker Sassville, and I'm from Sarasota County. I'm here speaking on agenda item 9.6, which pertains to the approval of an out-of-state field trip for my robotics team, Spectre Robotics. For some background, I'm the team captain for the design and 3D modeling team, along with overseeing the entire logistics of out-of-state field trips, in-state field trips, and community events as a whole. This year, my team has been blessed with the opportunity to travel out of state for an extra competition, which is the first time our team has been able to do this. Having this extra opportunity not only boosts the knowledge in STEM fields as we compete in a worldwide competition, but also helps students gain real-world connections and gain maturity as they speak to judges, teams from different states, and even around the world, along with game officials. With this competition being out of state, we are only bringing a select few of our teammates to the competition in an effort to be both cost-effective and efficient when it comes to the competition itself. With such a small crew, chartering a bus for the week-long trip is just not an option. We understand that the use of private vehicles for out-of-state field trips are authorized on a case-by-case basis due to liability concerns and what-if situations. I will say that the main driver tasked with making the drive in a vehicle filled with high schoolers is both CDL certified and passenger endorsed through the county. She's a school bus driver. With all that said, I speak for my team and the school as a whole when I ask you all to approve of the trip and give my teammates and myself this opportunity that will only come once in a lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Cassie Jewell. And I do not believe she is here. So that actually concludes our comments on the agenda item. Moving on to the next item of the agenda is 7.1. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move for approval of the minutes of board meeting January 20th, 2026.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments? Seeing none, members vote on the motion before you to approve the minutes. Does it say? Doesn't say, right? I was about to say it passes unanimously, but I need proof of it. So. Oh, just a moment with our. Okay, all right. So the motion passes 5-0 to approve the minutes. Moving on to item 10.1. Wait, I'm sorry. Just kidding. I skipped. I turned. We're moving on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, item 8.1?
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments? Seeing none, members vote on the motion to approve the consent agenda. And the motion is adopted favorably, unanimously. Moving on to item 10.1. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the approval of our gap year purchase for K-12 ELA instructional materials for the next school year, 26-27. A gap year is, as you know, we adopt on a 5-year cycle typically. We are going through the adoption process now. That was part of the public hearing that was happening for ELA for the next 5 years. But districts do often hold off on purchasing. So while you can adopt for the 5-year cycle, we are opting to hold off for 1 year. And what that will do is we will extend purchases for that next school year at the tune of $1.8 million. Typically, when you do a 5-year adoption, that would be about 5 years worth. So you're looking at $8 to $10 million in purchases on a normal cycle of a 5-year adoption. As we begin this process of adopting the K-12 material, this will afford a 1-year opportunity for the district to have those materials in advance and to create really the magic behind the curriculum. I heard a lot of concerns around the type of textbook that there are concerns with in the particular adoption. I will say there is a very, very rigorous vetting process when we go through this. One of the things that I would say about Benchmark Advanced is that it has been nationally reviewed by Ed Reports and meets and exceeds all of the indicators from alignment to text complexity to building knowledge for usability, all of the major factors that you're looking for in a textbook. And remember, a textbook is only a part of the curriculum. It meets and exceeds in all areas of that. And so that's very important as we do this. There's been a lot of conversation around phonics instruction. We have been really revolutionizing the way that we provide foundational reading in Sarasota County over the last 3 years, really focused on the science of reading and bringing in UFly from the University of Florida and building in those interventions to really bolster that foundational skills that students need to really learn to read. So as we go through that and continue to provide professional development, as we build instructional pacing guides that are really tight and aligned, this year is going to be really pivotal for us to, as we adopt and purchase the following years, having a real tight grasp on those resources so that the usability for teachers is going to be already prepared for them and they're going to be developing it themselves. So what I'm asking for this in this particular item is a gap year is just one additional year. So we're going to take the current existing instructional materials and extend that beyond the 5 years to a 6th year, and that's what these materials are, as we prepare for the next cycle of K-12.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions? Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Connor, thank you for that explanation. But I guess I would like a little bit more explanation on the phonics, because that is critical. Granted, I'm not an expert on that, but I taught reading, so I know how critical phonics is. So can you just go a little bit more in depth? Because I want parents, teachers, the community to feel confident that we are working on those gaps. And before that, I want to say the word, and I've said this many times, I feel like my career, my profession has been kidnapped by using the word inclusivity. That is not a bad word. We want children to feel included, to have experiences. So, and from a school counselor, I worked with kids who were excluded. So those two words go together. So you're either going to be excluded or you're going to be included. So I just feel like anytime even I want to go say a word, I have to think, oh my, am I breaking the law? Am I not allowed to use those words? Does that mean I'm breaking, violating DEI? Well, I don't feel like I am, but as an educator, I want students to be included. So can you expound on that a little bit? Are we in violation of the governor and the DEI?
Absolutely not. We are not in violation of any of those things. And I would agree that there has been a co-opting of the word inclusivity as if anytime that phrase is used, it really matters context and how we're using the word inclusive. And when we talk about DEI and what the governor has imposed in terms of as it relates to education, I think it's really about making sure that people understand that we build upon meritocracy in our nation, but the fact that we're all included in that does not, you can have both of those things. So this is not the abolition of the word inclusivity. That is an important word in what we do in education, because we have students that come from various backgrounds, from various aptitudes, from various socioeconomics, and we want to make sure every student that walks through our door feel included in our schools. And that is not in violation of any law.
Thank you. Now, the phonics.
I'm going to hand that over to our Chief Academic Officer, Ms. O'Day.
All right, thank you for the question. So obviously in our district, we take literacy very seriously, as referenced in our strategic plan and our Literacy for All initiatives, and the amount of resources and allocation and training that we've done over the past 2.5 years in advancing the current resources to be in alignment with the science of reading. Because a little over 2.5 years ago, that wasn't quite the case, to include training. And at this point with Benchmark, what we're happy about is this is a resource we've used for 6 years. The publisher obviously has advanced that resource, and the teachers voted to continue to use this product with all the additional advancements that it has. As far as phonics embedded, it has grade level core phonics, because at every grade level, whether you're an advanced reader or a below level reader, you need the core grade level phonics. So that's embedded in there. There's a lot of resources for the teachers to include videos that shows a teacher how to move their mouth and what that needs to look like, because the science of reading is very heavily embedded in articulation. So we have those. It's also multi-sensory to make sure we have tiles and sands and magnetic boards, because the science of reading also brings in those multi-sensory factors. We also purchase Benchmark Express and Benchmark Advanced to support our English language learners within the science of reading. And we're looking at additional resources within other federal grants to purchase another curriculum to advance our students that are above grade level, called junior grade books. We also look at ensuring that the intensive activities that we are putting in place for our students, that teachers have the training and the job embedded support from our program specialists at the district level. So it is very robust with phonics, aligned to the science of reading, and not just that, the latest literacy practices that are above and beyond the science of reading.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment on this piece. I think important to recognize that for 7 years, up until Mr. Connor, Superintendent Connor, assumed the role of superintendent and brought in his staff, we were following the science of reading, and our students were what I call flatlining in reading every year. And yes, the majority of families had success. However, we had well over a third of our students that were going through that third grade benchmark of, if you can't read a grade level by third grade, your probability of success is slim for the rest of your academic years. And that went on and on and on. And when Superintendent Connor came and Mrs. O'Day, they brought back the science of reading, which is huge. And not only brought back the science of reading, which focuses in and prioritizes those phonics skills at every level, we started moving. I think that in 1 year, there was a 6-point gain in third grade reading. We are moving, and we need to keep that consistency. I couldn't be more impressed and more confident in where we are going. Teachers are on board. I love the idea of teachers providing training. That is phenomenal, being in the third year of this piece. I am proud of Superintendent Connor, Mrs. O'Day, and the staff for what we've accomplished in reading. And I say carry forward and keep that momentum going. In addition to the systems of accountability were not in place either, that network down into schools. And accountability going in both directions, not only accountability of teachers teaching in the classroom, but the departments in this office serving those teachers appropriately and giving the tools and the training and the professional development. So I say I carry forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? Seeing that, I will, I appreciate the opportunity to clarify these issues or the questions. I do think that, I'll just go for the word inclusion. I think it was well stated, but I do understand the sting after after some of the work that has been done. But I do feel confident in the team and the expectations, not only from a legal standpoint, but from the integrity of from the academic standpoint. I think that the superintendent and their team understand the task that's being asked of them from this board and this community, and I think they've illustrated that. I think even if you look at as Mrs. Rose just noted, the historical increases in the last 3 years are evidence to the real focus. And I like to say, reading is the tide that lifts all ships. I know we mentioned that this morning. I believe it deeply, and I think even members who spoke today spoke to that point and couldn't emphasize more the need to maintain that focus and prioritize that. So the way I understand it is we're taking a gap year to allow us to continue that while we also adopt this new instructional material, which is not minimizing our emphasis on the core components of such as phonics, science of reading, and those that we have illustrated proven gains. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And I'll say this too, because I know there's legitimate concerns about the previous adoption with benchmark. I think with the new, as in everything, right, they're continuing to review their practices. So as they have evolved over the course of time, the new adoption will have revised instruction around phonics. So as the latest evidence-based practices come available and the research is showing that these are working, they are reflecting that in their newest adoption as we move forward.
Okay, wonderful. And I commend you guys to continue to push hard this area. It is, again, was such a pivotal element to ensure the success of our students. And I know that our staff, have worked tirelessly, have even shared their excitement, the outcomes, and I think that's very meaningful, to say the least. So I actually need a motion on this item, and then a motion in a second. We can vote if there are no additional comments. So is there a motion on 10.1?
I move for approval of the gap year purchase of instructional materials for English language arts grades K through 12 for school year 26-27.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose. I have a motion. Is there a second on 10.1?
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Mrs. Marinelli. Additional comments? Seeing none, if the board members can vote on the motion before you. And the motion passes unanimously. The Sarasota County School Board approved the gap year purchase of the instructional materials for English language arts grades K-12. Moving on to item 10.2. Mr. Connor, will you please present this item?
Yeah, very similar to the last item. This is an actual request to extend the purchase of our Spanish materials at the middle school level for an additional year. This is actually as a result of the Florida Department of Education delaying the adoption cycle by a year. So while that will happen in 26-27, we will continue with our current materials.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? May I have a motion on the item?
I move for approval of the recommended middle school realidade Spanish 1-year gap instructional material for 26-27 school year.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments? Seeing none, members, please vote on item 10.2. And the motion to approve the recommended middle school, how do you say it, realidade Spanish 1-year gap instructional material for 26-27 is approved unanimously. Moving on to item number 10.3. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
This is very similar as the last item, but it will be for our high school Spanish classes.
Very good. Any comments? Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the Spanish instructional materials for high school levels 1 through 4, school year 26-27.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Just for clarity, that's the realidades, just for the record.
Correct.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second by Mr. Edwards. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the Spanish instructional materials for levels 1 through 4 for school year 26-27. And the motion passed unanimously. Moving on to item 10.4, Mr. Connor, could you please present this item?
Yes, this is to approve a renewal contract with Dreamers Academy. Dreamers Academy was granted a charter in 2019. It opened in August of 2021. It serves grades K through 6, and the current contract does expire June 30th of 2026. 2 amendments were actually made to the original contract. In 2024, we made an amendment to extend by 2 years to account for the initial planning years, and in 2025, we amended to expand grade levels from K5 to K6. Dreamers Academy is a dual language school. It serves instruction provided in 50% English, 50% in Spanish, and it was reviewed and there were no major compliance findings. However, there was noted some consistent academic performance. The school has been partnering with the district to provide that ongoing support to enhance their academic performance. They are requesting a 15-year renewal contract per statute. A charter school meeting the renewal requirements must be renewed for no less than 5 years, but may be granted up to 15-year renewal contract if the school has been in operation for at least 3 years and is demonstrating exemplary academic programming and fiscal management. So today's vote is to approve the renewal of the charter. If the board does renew and votes in favor, the next step will be contract negotiations, which we will then include the length of the term in that contract.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. May I have a motion?
I move approval of the charter renewal for Dreamers Academy.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Well, I'll just close saying that Mr. Edwards, there you go. I assumed someone was going to say something. Mr. Edwards, go ahead.
Yes, I think that the district made the mistake, this was before I came as a school board member, to adopt the dual language process brought by the Chaffees. We had a chance to do it and make it part of the public school system, and it was a mistake at that time not to adopt it. I think they do an incredible job. As Mr. Connor pointed out, they have had some hiccups and some bumps along the way in terms of academic achievement, but it is the classic example of school choice where when the dais, when the school board approves and the partnership happens with our administration and our team with a really outstanding curriculum and a team of people like the Chaffees and their administrators at Dreamers Academy. That is what school choice is supposed to look like. And I am excited to be able to approve this.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Connor, can you please clarify if we vote to approve this, is that an automatic 15 years or is that something you negotiate? I just like clarity on that piece.
We will, it will give us latitude to go into contract and negotiations for up to 15 years.
Okay.
Yes.
So it isn't, we aren't sign, sealing, and delivering 15 years right now with this vote?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I will echo the comments that Mr. Edwards made. I was actually here and I have been a long supporter of this option, an opportunity, because there was a large cadre of students that believe were not being properly served. And to Mr. Edwards' point, they did try to work with the district, but very different back then, but it was not really supported. And so they seized the opportunity to offer that through a charter school. I'm encouraged to hear, and has been the case certainly through our leadership team now, but to work with them, to support them. We do look at them as Sarasota County students, regardless if they're at a charter school or a district managed school, and their success is our success. So I really appreciate the continued partnership that the superintendent through your leadership is showing with all of our charter schools, and this is no exception. So I will be supporting this. Mrs. Rose, thank you for that clarification. If there are no additional comments, please vote on the motion before you. And the motion to approve the charter renewal with Dreamers Academy passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.5. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
Yes, this is the approval of our school start times for the 26-27 school year. Florida Institute does require us to adopt school start times, and the proposed times for this upcoming year will be in 3 years: 7:30 for high schools, 8:30 for elementary and K-8s, and 9:30 for middle schools, with some limited exceptions there. The 3 windows are really going to provide some efficiency around transportation and making sure that there's adequate time for schools to pick up and drop off. And due to recent legislation, districts that do not start middle schools after 8 or high schools after 8:30 have to be in compliance with submitting the appropriate documentation to the Florida Department of Education, which we intend to do after this vote. We've held multiple workshops. This included December 2025. We discussed the legislation. We talked about start times. We had multiple community meetings discussing start times. We surveyed our staffs. We surveyed our families, and the majority of them are in favor of this proposal that is set before you today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. May I have a motion?
I move for approval of school year 2026-2027 school start time.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose. I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli. I have a second by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments on the motion? Mr. Edwards.
Yes, I agree with the superintendent. We've had multiple conversations, multiple discussions and opportunities, and I did raise this question in my conversation with the superintendent, but I think it's important for the public to hear the answer as well. Sarasota School for Arts and Sciences, I think, had some issues about the start time. Have those been resolved?
Yes, they actually have. They will be partnering with another charter school in our community to create transportation opportunities to maintain a start time that they are more comfortable with.
Great, then I'm happy to approve this.
Thank you for that, making that note, Mr. Edwards. Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Superintendent Connor, I know you have the different tiers. Could you just let the public know which schools don't fall in those tiers?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have, Brookside with its new magnet-focused district-wide magnet will be moving to a 7:30 start time. We think that will be helpful as we attract students from the entire county to that cohort, as well as Venice is at Venice Middle School will remain at 7:30. They have been historically there for many, many years, will remain at 7:30. Dr. Kemp, anyone I'm missing on this particular list?
Yes, sir. Pine View will move to 9:30 for their grades 2-8, working that out with them. So giving that extra hour between the elementary drop-off time of 8:30, 9:30 for the district-wide transport, that extra 15 minutes of window of travel time is going to be very effective in delivering on-time students to the district-wide routes.
Were there any changes
I'm
to
sorry,
schools?
Booker Middle.
I was going to ask. Booker Middle is.
Booker Middle is also a early start time, but they have historically been just like this middle as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? Seeing none, I'll just close with, I thank you for the work on this. This is one of those issues where there's a lot of discussion, a lot of different philosophies. I really want to commend Dr. Kemp and the team, because in addition to this, there was a lot of efficiencies that you were able to find that I think are very important to the district's financial position. And so I appreciate the open discussion for the community, and I will be supporting this. If there are no additional comments, please vote on the motion before you. And the motion passes favorably that the school board approve the school year 2026-2027 start times. That concludes any items for action. Now we will move to the general hearing of citizens. I actually have a real quick statement. I haven't looked through all the comment items, but I will note that on our next workshop, we will be having a discussion on the policy that I had brought forward at the last meeting, that there was consensus to move forward and have worked with legal. That final draft will be presented to the board, but just to reassure everyone that it will be fully in line with any Supreme Court rulings and be legally sound, so that when it comes to any kind of disruptive demonstrations, But we will discuss that at our next workshop. So just wanted to clarify that. And I will reread the rules. All right, so this time is for public comment on general items. Each speaker will state their full name and county of residence for the record. You will have up to 2 minutes. A timer will signal when 1 minute remains. Please conclude promptly when the timer ends. Again, risk for divergent opinions shall be recognized for all speakers. Audience members are requested to listen quietly and respectfully. Outbursts, applause, or other interruptions that disrupt the meeting will not be tolerated. Any person that interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of the meeting after first being warned that such conduct continued interference will result in removal be removed. There are speakers again in the room behind us that allow board members to hear public comment when stepping away from the dais. When your name is called, please approach the podium. If you choose to pass, you will forfeit your time to address the board. As a reminder, a recording cannot be played during your 2 minutes of public comment. We appreciate your cooperation, and let's get started. Corrine Prochnow, Lieutenant Duff Smiley. I got your name right.
Hi again. I'm Corrine Prochnow, resident of Sarasota County, and I'm here today because our public schools deserve a board that listens to our students and teachers and puts them first. I'm a big believer in every student every day, and that begins with listening and acknowledging, not dismissing because it doesn't fit a political agenda or ambition. I had the opportunity to go to Tallahassee in January to sit down with representatives and comment before Senate and House education hearings. I did so alongside students and young adults from Sarasota County as well as other Florida counties. It was an amazing experience, and I was absolutely blown away with the intelligence, confidence, and compassion of those student speakers, and so were the senators and representatives. They were so proud of our young people and even remarked that it was one of the best debates those chambers had seen. Student speakers were shown respect, they were listened to and acknowledged. Didn't necessarily change any opinions, but they were listened to. And it's a shame and a real lost opportunity that their own board members refused to show them the same courtesy and respect. If you would just listen, you would hear that students want to learn, they want to be accepted, and they want to be safe. Students and teachers deserve better. We deserve a board focused on learning and safety. Students before politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Duff Smiley and Megan Tenneman.
Good morning again. My name is Duff Smiley from Osprey, and I'm here to discuss student walkouts. Our schools must protect learning time, not political theater. Sarasota schools must draw a red line. Instructional time is not optional, and school is not a political stage. Schools should not be a training ground for protesting and disrupting, and we should not allow outside adult agitators from special interest groups to take over our schools by organizing and promoting these walkouts. We've seen walkouts that disrupt classrooms, overwhelm administrators, and send many students off campus with no supervision. That is not civic engagement. That is chaos, and it disrupts learning. No responsible school could allow political activity to replace learning. Students absolutely have the right to speak their minds. They can protest before school, after school, and on weekends, and anywhere outside the campus. But they do not have the right to abandon class. That is unacceptable, and they should suffer disciplinary actions. And let's talk about the role of teachers. Teachers should do everything in their power to prohibit the walkout. These expectations protect safety, order, and basic expectation that school hours are for learning. And let's be clear about who is really driving these politics into the schools. It is our liberal board members who work behind the scenes with interest groups and agitators and Mr. Brown. And these people are disrupting schools and promoting the political objectives. They are being the ones driving political into our school. I do think you are focused on education and safety.
Thank you. Moving on, Megan Tenneman, Elizabeth Bollinger.
Morning, Megan Tenneman, Sarasota County. I am here as a former second grade teacher at Gosho Elementary, a mom of 3 students in Sarasota County schools, an active school volunteer, and I am a school board candidate for District 4. I'm here today to respectfully ask you to change the school board meetings back to 6 p.m. To make this meeting today, I had to juggle several things, including alternate transportation for my middle schooler, as well as canceling a standing volunteer commitment. As you know, most middle schools do not start until 9:30 a.m., making it virtually impossible for a parent who drops off a middle schooler to attend these meetings. The 10 a.m. time also makes it extremely hard for teachers, working parents, and students to attend the meetings. The decisions and discussions at these meetings directly affect the people I have just listed, and they should be given the opportunity to attend. Changing the meeting back to 6 p.m. will show your taxpayers your commitment to them and that you respect their input. Because right now as a community, we are feeling unheard and frustrated. Please change the times back and back our voice. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Elizabeth Bollinger, Catherine Martin.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Bollinger, and I am a Sarasota County resident. I am here to speak in opposition of the effort to ask the governor to remove a duly elected school board member for engaging in a lawful, peaceful, and constitutionally protected activity. I do want to be clear. I do understand that this request did not originate with this board, but I also understand that this meeting is a part of public record and that more than just the board will be watching and listening, including other community members, the media, and other state officials. For that reason, I believe it is important for these concerns to be stated clearly and publicly. Peaceful protest and freedom of speech are not misconduct. They are fundamental civic rights, and treating them as grounds for removal sets a dangerous precedent, one where elected officials may be punished not for wrongdoing, but for expressing views that are politically inconvenient. What is especially troubling is the lack of consistency. We are being asked to treat legal behavior as disqualifying, while other board members who have faced other ethical concerns or whose actions have damaged public trust remain in their seats without similar calls for removal. Accountability for elected officials should be based on actual misconduct, applied equally and grounded in law, not political disagreement. When standards shift based on political convenience or ideological differences rather than conduct, public confidence in governance erodes. I appreciate the opportunity to place these concerns on the public record. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Martin, Ron Springman.
My name is Catherine Martin. I've been a Sarasota County resident since 2009, 2008. I don't even know when I moved here. Tom, I just wanted to say thank you. Agree or disagree, your constitutional right is to protest. Just like it's Bridget's right to spew that you stand with criminals. But yet she supports a guy that, loves Kid Rock. And what was it? Statutory is mandatory. So, Bridget, I'm really proud of you for standing with pedophiles. That's good job. Also, thank you, Bridget. My son didn't know much about the school board. And then he started looking up this board and asked me what a threesome is. So thank you for those questions. I'm really glad you didn't step down when they were calling for you to. Liz, thank you for having common decency as well. And, your rights don't end when you get into a school. They have constitutional rights. They don't stop at the gates of the school. And protest is meant to be disruptive. But you had other people up here asking, where are the students? Do you want them to walk and be here or not? Pick. Which one do you want? You can't have it both ways. You change this meeting to a time when they can't attend. So what do they have to do? Walk out or skip school? Seems pretty cut and dry to me.
Thank you. Ron Springman, Jordani Del Rosario Arcadia.
Ron Springman, independent voter. 2 hours and 30 minutes into last January's board meeting,
One of Nosey's Posey stated Obama deported over 3 million illegal, double the number of Trump, which is true. What the Nosey didn't state is the Obama deportation were done legally with warrants and court hearings, and never a mention of any illegals or U.S. citizens being murdered by gun violence, nor media visuals of them being beaten and dragged from cars and homes, as is with the corrupt Trump cabal. I want to alert the voters to facts. On December 12, 2023, Rose Marinelli, Edwards, then Chair Enos all voted 4-1 for Ziegler to resign from the board for fornicating hypocrisy by having three-way sex with her husband and another woman and alleged with others as well. Her husband was disgraced after being brought up with sexual assault charges and removed as a Florida Republican chairman, and Bridget forced out of the Leadership Institute. Now Rose and Marinelli have the gall to vote to have a disgraced Ziegler once again as chair instead of Edwards, who has seniority over Marinelli and Rose. Our school board have done nothing but create chaos and disgrace for our community, beginning with Rose, who's lost in the last election for despicable social media against Barker, a mother of four who attends our public schools, unlike Ziegler's kids who attend private schools, supposedly receiving taxpayer vouchers. I recommend voters look up Ziegler on Wikipedia and public records. If you want normalcy and sanity brought back to the school board, vote out the 3 MAGA hacks now sitting on our board. We need members like Barker, mother of four, and Edwards who truly go to bat for our students in a nonpartisan way. And get rid of your damn hypocrisy.
Thank you. Jordani Del Rosario Arcadia and Dylan Ramsey.
Good morning. My name is Jordani Del Rosario Arcadia, and I'm a proud Booker High School student. Before I start, I just want to make a public apology to all my teachers for not being in their classes today, which if anyone was wondering where the students are, they're in school, where I should be right now, but instead I'm here. I also want to talk about the policy that was proposed by board chair, of course, because according to this policy, students can be suspended for participating in a protest, staff can be investigated, and community groups can be banned, all for political expression isn't hurting anyone. And somehow in the middle of that, it says you respect the First Amendment. So that's interesting because it feels less like respect and more like you're allowed to speak, just not here, not now, and not in ways that make us uncomfortable. And at this point, it feels like you're scrambling, like you're running out of ideas. So instead of fixing real problems, you're writing longer rules. So I thought I could help you out today. If you're looking for things to focus on, I've got some for you. How about better access to mental health support so students don't have to wait weeks just to talk to someone? How about a counselor to student ratio that actually makes sense instead of one counselor for 200 plus students? That's not support, it's more like a survival mode. Especially right now for the ones whose families are separated by immigration, students need support now more than ever. How about computers that don't freeze in the middle of assignments or tests and presentations, or getting more computers so students don't have to bring their own due to there not being enough for all of us? Because these are things that affect us every single day, not whether someone held up a sign or whether someone spoke up. This policy treats student voices like a problem to manage instead of a strength to protect. But students who care enough to speak out are not threats. They are more engaged, more informed, and they are paying attention, unlike some of you, and that should matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Dylan Ramsey and Rana Benzini.
Good morning, school board and Superintendent Connor. My name is Dylan Ramsey, resident of Sarasota County. I'm a proud father of a public school student and a former public school student myself. Today, I want to share my concern about some proposed policy for the county that's been going around that's about putting more restrictions in place in an attempt to cut down on on-campus student protests such as walkouts or other student-led message-based movements. I do not think this policy would be effective, and I believe there are better ways of going about this that can benefit our students, not punish them. When something like a student-led walkout or protest takes place, it's out of desperation from the students. They believe it's the last option they have left to be seen and heard from their peers, their parents, and school staff. When students do this, it's when they are most fearful of their safety, the protection of their education, and their well-being. Walkouts and similar movements are already something that's against school rules, and adding further and more severe punishments to the students is not the answer and will not change anything. The students are already acting in desperation. They will not be deterred by threat of further punishment. The solution is not to wag our finger harder at the students or in an attempt to further shut down the students. We should be lifting them up and listening to them and telling them that we hear you, we understand you, let's work together. We should be providing these students a space where they can safely and freely express themselves and their First Amendment right. After all, our First Amendment right is a gift that should be celebrated and cherished and taught in our schools. Our nation was built on the principles of standing up and speaking out. Let's celebrate our country's 250th birthday by encouraging and working with our students to exercise their First Amendment right. I could not think of anything more patriotic. Thank you.
Thank you. Raina Benzini, Lydia Miller.
Good morning. My name is Rana Bazzini, and I'm a resident of Sarasota. It's been a while since I've spoken at the board. It's the recent incident at Northport High School that inspired me to speak. The problem is I don't really know what to say. I do think it's important that we focus on rehabilitation versus punishment, especially regarding youth. The January 20th school board meeting took the wind out of my sails. The board listened, but it didn't pay attention when they passed a resolution that changed nothing and the majority of the public was opposed to. Thank you, Mr. Connor, for you clarified that in that resolution. Of course, there have been instances when the majority was wrong. We once believed that the sun rotated around the earth. And the Supreme Court has made several majority decisions regarding to slavery and segregation, which were definitely wrong. But the passage of this resolution and the opposition to it, the majority was right. I keep coming back to the purpose of the public school board. Isn't it to support and protect public education? In the 10 years I've been attending these meetings, it seems that this purpose has been eroding. The elephant in the room now sits on the dais. Are there things amiss in public schools? Of course, I'd be the last person to deny that, but just examine the difference in the school population since my day. Every child today means every child. The genius to the one with special needs, the athlete to the one who is immobile. And we have an incredible...
Thank you very much. Lydia Miller, JT Pryor.
Morning. My name is Lydia Miller. I'm here from Sarasota, Florida, resident. Okay. So we're going to be voting for new school board members this year, and I just want everybody to ask, as I'm asking today, do you support public schools? Would you use tax dollars to send your children to private for-profit schools? Our local schools are suffering from multi-million-dollar deficits as public school budgets are being taken to provide private school vouchers. We have many public school choices, including nonprofit charters, yet our school board chair chooses to use tax dollars to send her kids to private schools. Do you support public schools as a safe learning environment? This question comes after 3 out of 5 school board members voted voluntarily to cooperate with ICE, which is a threat to all of us. No one is safe in the presence of ICE regime. Keep in mind that almost 100% of Americans are non-native. I learned this as a child in public school. The history of slavery, the Holocaust, were also part of public school curriculum at that time as valuable lessons for what not to repeat. We all need to do better. Please ask, do you support public schools? Thank you.
Thank you. JT Pryor, Julie Forrester.
Good
Good morning, board. I'm JT Pryor. I'm a progressive Christian minister serving a congregation and the entire community of Sarasota County. I'm here today as a faith leader because I fear our board majority last meeting has subbed its own political aspirations over the needs and wishes of students, parents, and the community that elected them. Last month, after almost a full day of public comment of mostly speeches against the board chair's proposed resolution, not to mention the hundreds of people who stood outside in the parking lot and protested outside of the boardroom, the majority voted in favor of a resolution that made no actual change, as said over and over, made no change to procedure in schools. It did, however, have its intended effect of fanning the flames of division and placing politics over students. It passed, and that's not just bad politics, but I believe it's a spiritual concern for our community. When a community voices its opposition and comes together around a single issue, around a harmful policy, and our leaders seem intent on cruelty, there is serious spiritual deficiency at play. Serious spiritual deficiency is at play when the board downplays the impact and legitimate concerns of this harmful policy. And our students deserve a board that focuses on students, focuses on its concerns, not political wins. And while the board majority focuses in this direction, real problems will go unaddressed. It already appears that a policy has been drafted to limit free speech on high school campuses. So let me get this right. We moved the board meeting to times when they couldn't make the meeting, forcing them to leave class to have time to provide feedback to the board. We wouldn't give the clear answer on excused absences for leaving class to attend school board meetings, school functions. And now we're focused on ways.
Thank you very much. Julie Forrester, Bill Neese.
Good morning. This community is exhausted by...
Sorry, can you state your name and county?
Julie Forrester, Sarasota County, is exhausted by the political posturing and by watching our children's schools turn into stepping stones for someone's political career. Chair, whatever office you're auditioning for next, I want to be clear. Your strategy is backfiring. You may think the constant culture war language plays well, but here's the truth. None of it is original or rooted in the lived experience of Sarasota families. It's recycled language from political operatives who see school boards as training grounds for higher office. It's the students in Sarasota that are paying the price. When you use them in props in ideological battles, when you infringe on their constitutional rights, it tells community exactly what your priorities are. After the last board meeting, my next door neighbor, someone who has voted Republican up and down the ballot for years, texted me and asked, what can we do to get Bridget Ziegler off the school board? When I got home later that day, she walked over and asked me directly, why are you even still on the board? Why has the governor not removed you yet? And that's not coming from a partisan activist. That's coming from someone who has never aligned politically with me before. Your strategy is backfiring in real time, and it is so beautiful to watch. People who I never imagined I would have political alignment with are reaching out and asking how we move forward. In August, we will have the opportunity to elect leadership that actually puts students first. I am excited about Megan Tenemon, Beth Mayberry, and Jimmy Glover, leaders who understand that public education is a fundamental right, not a campaign platform. So I need to thank you for making it clear what's at stake and for reminding this community that our schools belong to our students, not political operatives. I can't wait for August when Sarasota voters will choose students over politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Neese, Nicole Wakowitz.
My name is Bill Neese. I'm a resident of Sarasota County. Unlike I was accused of after the last board meeting of being the president of Sarasota County. Didn't you say that you were the president of Sarasota County? I looked at the person and said, excuse me? He turns and looks at several cohorts out there and said, didn't he say that? I said I was a resident. And then he proceeded to lambaste the whole procedure about how ICE is going to come here and blow up our grade schools. And I thought, this is the political theater that has no place in this room. And it has continued and continued. as long as back as I can remember, even as far as back as 2019. But that's a side story. I thought we did a very good job of explaining the policies and the procedures that our school district operates under. Board Member Marinelli asked our legal counsel, our district superintendent, our police chief, how this whole thing works. And without any hesitation, they clarified that to give understanding to the total public. And without that understanding, all the rumors, all the things that were said prior to were just basically cut down. And so in reality, misinformation is the biggest nemesis of what happens in this room. Because over and over again, misinformation has implied things that are not true. And that's why political angst continues. Truth is at stake in this room. So I'm here to say thanks for running a great school district.
Thank you very much. Nicole Walkowitz and Con Nicholas.
Hello, my name is Nicole Volkevich, and I'm a Sarasota County resident. As a member of Sarasota County's South County community for a little under 20 years, college student in this district, it is so disappointing to watch this board continue to ignore the wills of its constituents time and time again. I remember the over 100 community members that came out against the ICE resolution just for this board to pass it anyways. Not only am I disappointed, I am exhausted. I am exhausted by this board's desperate attempts to cling to relevancy via bad press. At some point, it just gets embarrassing, and I'd be embarrassed for the board majority if not for the very real impacts their actions have on Sarasota County students and taxpayers. When will this board quit thinking about themselves and think about the people they serve? For Christ's sake, a gun was brought onto Venice High's campus despite metal detectors. Why does this board continue to cause more problems than it is willing to actually fix? I'm disappointed, I'm exhausted, and I'm tired of hearing this nonsense from my elected officials. Please do better, and if you're unwilling to do so, please move aside so somebody who actually will can take your place. Thank you.
Thank you. Con Nicholas, Cassie Jewell. Con Nicholas, Cassie Jewell. Moving on to Connie Bruni, Julie London.
Cassie Jewell, Sarasota County, parent of 2 children in the district. I think it's hilarious that anyone questions where the students are. You're threatening to suspend them right now, so I'm confused, like other people in this room. I'm here to ask for some clarity and transparency regarding Bridget's newest draft policy titled Prohibition of Political Activity and Demonstrations During School Operations and School-Sanctioned Events that's been publicly circulated. Now, for the board, I do want to point out how incredibly disconcerting it is to everyone in the district to see this trend whereby board business is being conducted based on Ziegler's personal opinions, politics, and Facebook page advancing this fascist agenda. I understand the board members' social media posts are not district communication. Okay, sure. However, because a draft policy has now been circulated by the board and has directed that a policy be drafted, my questions are not about social media, they're about the substance and process of the policy itself. The draft proposes mandatory minimum disciplinary consequences, including in-school suspension for students who participate in political demonstrations or walkouts during school hours. For clarity and transparency, I'm respectfully requesting that written responses to the questions in my February 5th email to Mr. Connor be provided before the March work session or included in the session materials, specifically whether the administration supports adoption of the proposed policy as written, whether the draft has undergone legal review and scope of that review, whether the administration recognizes this proposal as a substantive change from the current disciplinary framework regarding walkouts, how this policy would interact with or supersede existing student code of conduct provisions, the intended effective date and notice if this process is adopted, and what mechanism exists for public input prior to adoption. These aren't questions about ideology, they're questions about governance, procedure, and due process. And given the significant constitutional and disciplinary implications of this proposal, written clarification prior to the work session would be appreciated. The foundational governance.
Thank you. Connie Bruni, Julie London.
I'm short,
My name's Connie Bruni. I am a Sarasota County resident. I was absolutely gobsmacked earlier to hear the instructional subject matter expert say that they have training for teachers on how to hold their mouth to ensure that children are learning. Wow. That was a huge admission as far as I'm concerned. Let's go back to 2021 when Mr. Edwards, joined by Ms. Zucker, Ms. Brown, and Ms. Goodwin, voted to defy the governor's executive order and force mask all of our children in this district. It's an admission that we hurt our kids, and you knew it, and it's not okay. I want to make sure of that. We cannot afford to return to that level of insanity. That's what caused the Zem uprising in 2022. That's where we are. We cannot afford to return to a time when our board members do something that hurts our kids. Then I have another issue. As parents, do you allow your kids to run the household? Of course not. Children should not run our school district. That's why you're here. And we hope that you'll continue to do your job. You should listen, but not be slaves to that. And anyone encouraging kids to walk out is wrong, 100%. This is school time. School time. What people do on their personal time is fine. I've heard people say, kids over politics.
Thank you. Julie London and Beth, I think it says Mayberry.
Hi there, I'm Julie London, Sarasota County resident. This meeting spells out why almost every person in Sarasota County should choose public schools. We have the naysayers who can speak freely their mind without consequence. We have the brightest of kids who display their civil engagement chops in a way that will guide their future. We have the school board members, one in curls, who is as friendly as she is intelligent. We have the other school board member who puts himself in the shoes of all the students, who is so in touch that he not only answers his email, but gives out his phone number to parents. Sarasota has a superintendent who will change course at the drop of a dime only to create something extraordinary. Terry Connor knows teachers, staff, parents, students, and even pain-in-the-butt advocates by name. He's that accessible and boots on the ground. In 2026 and 27, this already A-rated district is going to see great things to come, and 3 new board members, including 2 former teachers, Megan Tennyman, and one with the last name of Mayberry. We have a new governor and possibly lieutenant governor who says, "Don't get me started on public education. I love it so much, I cry." Now is the time to act like the students into the diverse wonderland of music, robotics, the arts, science, clubs, and friends, where the kid can experience it all under the umbrella of the best administrative staff in the state. Where are the usual advocates today? They're in Tallahassee fighting for funding for the betterment of students and teachers. We're in an incredible district. It's no contest when it comes to school choice. Public schools, despite real-life problems, is the choice hands down.
Thank you. Beth Mayberry, Jeff Craig.
Beth Mayberry, Sarasota County, excuse me. Hello, my name's Beth Mayberry. I'm a Northport resident, a proud mother of graduates from Sarasota County Public Schools, and a grandma of 5 with my grandchildren also attending Sarasota County schools. I'm a retired Venice middle school teacher, a former certified financial planning professional, and a former small business owner. I'm also a school board candidate running for District 5. Too often, I see important concerns from students, teachers, and the public largely ignored by the board majority, overshadowed by politics. The issues of student vaping and trafficking has become unmanageable, particularly in Northport, as evidenced by the student arrests last week at Northport High School. Parents, students, and community members have been sounding the alarm for months. What I don't understand is why no action was taken. Shouldn't more on this board have been proactive in meeting with the parents and staff to seek solutions? Why did this board not take the recommendations of the Drug-Free Youth Club through Holly's Hope? These groups have been lobbying school administrators to take action and even offered some solutions. They researched what other schools were doing, brought in some Charlotte County experts who discussed what they have done to successfully cut down on vaping problems. Vape detectors, web-based hall passes, and even a specially trained dog have cut down on the time out of class due to vaping in Charlotte County. Now we're looking toward a new year with serious budget cuts on the horizon. Last year alone, our budgets were reduced by about $180 million, costing us behavior specialists, school counselors, and security. Next year's projections are to lose even more teachers and lose even more security positions. Continued security reductions will only make our schools less safe and place greater strain on teachers. The issues at Northport High School are not going to get better unless we work together. The board cannot solve every problem alone.
Thank you. Jeff Craig and Sadie Word. Sorry, I couldn't read that.
Hi, I'm Jeff Craig, Sarasota County. I had some words to say, and then I listened to everyone else's, and it starts to become more and more and more. I can't believe we're still talking about masks. Let me tell you, I was traumatized when my mom told me to wear glasses for 3 years in grade school. So I don't believe that for a second. I'd like to know where we are with vaccinations, because I think we're going to have a measles outbreak anytime soon. I don't think it's fair that children whose parents care about their health should send their school kids to schools that the parents who don't care about their health send their school kids to. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at seriously. I'm also sick of my taxpayer dollars being used to fund billionaires to earn money off of our kids. I'm not a billionaire. I expect all my tax money to go to the schools themselves, private schools, or other people's profits. I'm really, really also tired of all of the performative things that are going on weekly or monthly for attention getting to espouse a certain view that's pretty much anti everybody who is not just like them. I could go on and on and on, but all I will say is that I hope that the 3 women on this board are soundly and rudely voted out in August, because you're dinosaurs. I don't know where you came from, Bridget Ziegler, because you're not that old. The other 2, you're dinosaurs.
Okay, yeah, Sadie Willard.
My name is Sadie Willard, and I'm a student of Sarasota County Schools. I was here at the last meeting last month to talk about the ICE proposition given by Bridget Ziegler, our school chair, and I was glad and disgusted to be informed later that the entire proposition meant basically nothing, and it was a fear-mongering tactic used to gain political brownie points with a tyrannical government with a child molester felon of a president. So I'm glad to know, Bridget, seeing you laughing over there, that that's who you support. And I would like to remind this board that they are in no way above the law, and just because the government is detaining legal citizens, causing them to lose connection with family, there's missing people, civil rights violations, murder, sexual abuse, and censorship being given immunity by the government, that doesn't give you the same excuse. You aren't a government, you are here for the students. And the whole accusation that students shouldn't run the schools and you wouldn't let your child run your house, it's a school where students go. So I'm not sure how it should be your guys' decision, how we live, how it goes, like how we deal with things and what people want. You are not the all-knowing government here. It's a school for students, not for your political agenda. And I also fully believe that Bridget Ziegler should be removed from the board for violating the Tinker v. Des Moines Supreme Court Act. Whether you say that it will comply with the Supreme Court Act, I think we all know that there's a way to do that when student protesting is a completely legal act. And keep smiling back there because you know that you shouldn't be on this board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comments. Are there any member comments before we close out with announcements? Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to look at my notes here, and we've answered. I have one for Superintendent Connor. If it goes back to the benchmarks, and I understand the community and parents' caution of this. So I was just wondering if maybe, because you have such excellent staff and communication skills, to periodically let the community and parents know how the progress is, aside from report cards and all of that, and what a great job our teachers are doing with that, so they know that phonics and that is being utilized. And one other question. Do we still have trained volunteers that go in and help students with reading in K through 2?
To your first question, I would say I would really encourage the community to tune in. Sometimes I know it can be dry, but our shops are very robust and they are tied strictly to the strategic plan. And the first pillar of that strategic plan integrates so much of what we are doing in terms of early childhood education, our Literacy for All initiatives, and hats off to our team who, when you talk about getting granular, get very specific about the actions that are taking place related to the literacy progress we're making. So please tune into those workshops if you have that interest in knowing the level of detail regarding the professional learning, the curriculum, of the strategies incorporated and the transformation that is occurring in literacy across our district. It is evidenced through the data. We are seeing progress. We just went over at our last workshop progress monitoring 2 data and the growth that has occurred since the PM1 data and also compared to where we stood at PM2 last year. So all indicators are telling us we are moving in the right direction. Our subgroups, our student groups, whether they be our bilingual students or speakers of other English of other languages, or students with disabilities, and our gifted students are all trending in a positive trajectory. So there's work to be done, and it never stops. But if you want to know more about what's happening in literacy, tune into the workshops, and they happen quite frequently. We do strategies, our strategic plan updates at least 3 times a year on where we're at with literacy.
Well, and I appreciate that. Is there maybe a way to let the community know that this is coming up so they will know that we're talking about what's really important is the reading and what's going on?
Sure.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the volunteers.
I'm going to give that to Ms. O'Day and let her speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's school by school. A lot of volunteers particularly want to volunteer in a certain community, a certain area with certain programs, demographics, and age levels. So whenever they're interested, they do work through our volunteer department to make sure that they're cleared with security. And our principals will reach out to their level chiefs if they need specific training and support. So it really depends on what they want to be doing and what the need is and making that connection. And then we layer in with our staff support if training is needed based on what type of mentoring or support is occurring.
I appreciate that clarification because I know this dinosaur remembers when specific volunteers were trained on the reading and then they could go into the schools and it tied right into what the teachers were doing. So I appreciate that. Now, I'd like to address some of the things. Oh, before, I don't know if the student has left, but absolutely congratulations to Polytech for their robotics. And if I read the agenda correctly, you're going to Arizona. Is that Arkansas? Okay. So congratulations for that. And as you can see, that was a 5-0 vote. So we're all very proud of you and wish you lots of success in that. So I wanted to get that done. Addressing the Northport High without violating FERPA. Superintendent Connor, could you comment on any of that? Because this whole board meeting, and I know that this dinosaur will be quoted in the papers as saying that I'm not listening and I'm causing fear. I don't believe I'm the one that's causing fear. And if I'm a dinosaur, I will die on that part because I'm not causing the fear. And I'm not causing the political theater that goes on up here. So could you please address the Northport without violating FERPA, but let them know that from every person here took that serious and what the principal has done to try to hopefully that never happens again.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity. It is always traumatic when we see an incident like that happen in a school, and there are mechanisms in place to deal with that very swiftly. And I can tell you, we take a zero tolerance approach to that type of behavior. Those students took it upon themselves to attack another student in the bathroom, and that was videotaped, and it was dealt with very swiftly. And I can tell you that behavior in the climate and the culture of a school is more important than anything. Making sure that students feel safe, students know what to do in the event of a crisis or an emergency that's going to happen. No one can sit up and tell you at any time that these things are 100% preventable. Students do make bad choices, and students do have peers that influence them to make bad choices as well. We take it upon ourselves to educate around making good choices, making healthy choices, involve parents as the best we can. But it does start at home, and we all would agree that that's where a lot of the support, we are a reflection, our schools are a reflection of the communities in which they reside, bar none. And so we as a community have to take ownership in all of this. But at the school level, there is definitely very specific roles and responsibilities of personnel. And the administration there is undergoing a transition at Northport High. I think in a very positive way. We've got a new principal that just started there just a month ago and setting a new expectation, a new devising and developing a new culture of school. But again, bad choices were made. They were dealt with very swiftly. I can tell you from a district standpoint, we won't tolerate that type of behavior. And there are some instances where you have to send a very clear message about that. And in an instance where you have multiple students attacking one individual, regardless of the reason why, we will be sending a very strong message. Those students were arrested immediately. They are spending the next 21 days in jail per the judge. They will be recommended for expulsion. And that is how we will roll in Sarasota County when it comes to safety and to security and making sure that we are focused on the right things. I understand that these types of things make their way into the school, but it really is not a reflection of the dedicated people that work at Northport High School. Like I said, the administration's working hard, the teachers are working hard, and the students want to make sure they are safe. Northport is one of probably the high school that submits a 4-to-5 Florida more frequently than any of our other high schools. And a lot of that time is really just anything that they're seeing to be proactive so we can investigate it, whether it be a vape that they may have saw in a bathroom. So there are mechanisms in place for students to send information to us anonymously. We get that information. It involves our law enforcement agency as well as all of the local agencies. There are really tight systems in place to deal when these types of behaviors happen. In terms of personnel, I can understand that, hey, it is always important to make sure you have adequate supervision in every place. Sometimes there are instances, whether it be a transition of a class, early mornings, where students find opportunities to do undesired behaviors. And I can guarantee you I couldn't staff a school enough to make it 100% complete where nothing undesired could happen. But we set the culture, we set the expectation. When the students go against those, we handle it quickly and swiftly. And at the end of the day, we want to restore students back and get an education. But I got to tell you, if you do the crime, you will pay the fine. And that's very important. Our schools are here for one reason only, and that's to educate and make sure that everyone who walks those halls feels safe and can learn. And that's what we will continue to do.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. I'm almost done, Mrs. Ziegler. I want people to know I support public schools. I dedicated my adult life to public schools and students. I'm a product of a public school. What I'm not a product of is we didn't have girls' sports because Title IX hadn't been passed yet. I'm not a product of having the opportunities that you students have today. Things have really, really changed, and for the better. I am in support that parents have a choice where they want to send their children. I support the vouchers, but with that being said, I wish the public school wasn't suffering financially because of that. I wish there was some way where there was a give and take where we wouldn't be hit. So with that being said, also, I was struck by the comparison of the lady that spoke about how they went and spoke before the legislators and said that they listened, but it didn't change their mind. So I listened to the STAR students today. They had some good, excellent recommendations and questions. And I listened at every board meeting. But it doesn't mean I'm going to change my mind. Just like you try to negotiate with your parents, doesn't always change their mind. That's the way things are. That is the political system, and it's the greatest one on earth. And I absolutely believe in the First Amendment. And the court case that was quoted, absolutely, that's right. But one thing, very important thing was left out. The Code of Student Conduct supersedes kids being able to walk out of class. And school systems across the United States have that in their Code of Student Conduct. So, because you have a choice, you can walk out, but knowing there'll be a consequence. So don't blame this board on something that's been in place for a long time. So, with that being said, I also want to remind everybody there's one important thing that's been in existence for about, going on 25 years maybe, don't know. Employability skills. When you're in high school, employability skills are 20% of every course you take. Number one on those employability skills is attendance. So if you're not in class, right there, your employability skills are going to affect your grade. So when you get out in the world, if you're lucky enough to be on a sports team and you're playing a major game and you want to do a walkout, you're going to tell your coach, oh, I think I'm going to go walk out because I don't agree with this. What do you think that coach is going to say to you? If you have a job that's in the business sector and you say, I'm going to walk out, what do you think that your employer is going to say? Go ahead, but take your stuff with you. That's what employability skills is all about. So yeah, you have the freedom to walk out, but the school district has a way that are the consequences that go with that. Your freedom of speech is not being affected. If you take government class or civics class, you can share those ideas all you want to. There's not going to be a teacher that shuts you down as long as respectful. Because unfortunately in this room, you don't always learn what a respectful give and take is. So with that being said, again, congratulations, Polytech. Please take that back to the rest of the students that we are very, very proud of you. This board member is very, very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start out by sharing that the February school board workshop was about academic achievement and results and the monitoring, the progress monitoring of that. And those results were phenomenal. And I want to thank Superintendent Connor, Mrs. O'Day, your staff, our teachers, of course, and our students. We are actually moving and continuing to grow academic achievement, something that is not talked about a lot by the organized folks in this room. I'd also like to state that, we had the head of C Alliance, I'm not sure all parents are aware, actually encouraging students for walkouts along with teachers' unions. And there's one piece that really needs to be emphasized. The safest place, and I'll say it again, the safest place for a student to be is in school, in the classroom, and getting those results academically to prepare for life that we were celebrating here this month. No one talked about that, and no one has mentioned it that is part of this organized political movement in this boardroom. And you've adopted the C Alliance, the Democratic Party, and so forth and so on that organize your speeches and come here. You've adopted, and candidates have adopted, it is students over politics. But you want students to leave school. You want them to walk out. You want them to be in chaos and protests with 700 people. It doesn't get any more political than that. So how you can say that it's students over politics is you like to spew hypocrisy. So I have a new slogan for you. And that new slogan is academics. Academics over indoctrination. And once again, thank you to our teachers, our students, and the academic achievement. I've been part of this district for 30 years now, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my service, and I am thrilled that we're moving academically. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose. If I just can remind the people in the gallery, if you guys could please be quiet while we finish our comments. Thank you so much. Mrs. Barker, you're recognized.
Thank you. I too wanted to thank staff and particularly teachers and administrators who are at the schools who are working so hard to help our students really succeed and really elevate their everyday practice. And I am so grateful to be part of a team that takes academic achievement seriously and who works to learn who each of these students are and to really provide them with the best possible care. So I want to make sure that I say that because it really was remarkable at our last workshop seeing the results of all that labor. So thank you. I also want to thank our students because whether we like it or not, we have a group of very engaged, very invested students. And I think it's a missed opportunity to not put that to work. These students care and they have ideas. And I would love for us as a board to use that to further our entire district. And so I've asked before, but I would like to ask again, that this school board create a student council
that meets with us and hears from students. I know the superintendent already does that. I have heard from my fellow board members that their concern is that the board is primarily tasked with governance, policy, creation of policy, and budget. I would argue that our students are directly impacted by the policies that we make and the budget that we pass, and therefore they should have the opportunity to share their thoughts on that. So I'm happy to help create a framework. I know there are many districts across the state and the country that do that. If that's something that my fellow board member would be willing to invest their time into, that's something I'd really like for us to consider that. And piggybacking on that, in particular, our students at Northport High School are very engaged and invested in their school climate and culture, and I hear that there are things happening there. I'd like to know, Mr. Connor, what do you need from us as a board to support that work? Because the students care deeply, the teachers care deeply, our principal there is excellent. So what do you need from us to ensure that the vaping is under control, that the climate and culture continues to improve? How can we help you all?
Yeah, I think allowing the new administration time to really cultivate and set that expectation and get to gel. I think it is difficult to come in half a year and expect that, monumental change in a matter of months. So I think Mr. Shirley, given the time and support, can do that. So over the course of the next year, as we get through the end of this year and launching into next year, really working with him, with Dr. Green, around the systems and structures that are in place to ensure that those undesired behaviors aren't occurring or mitigated to a point. She's working really closely with him, but there's a lot of positive things that are happening at Northport. So just giving that space and time to allow the new administration to really set the tone.
And when will we hear again about the update for the vaping task force? I believe that's coming up soonish, is that correct?
We just had a meeting about 2 weeks ago. So the next meeting is on the docket. I don't have the date specifically, but yes.
But it's on the to-do list.
It is. Yeah.
Wonderful.
They are
Thank
active,
you.
and actually it is representatives, students from Northport that are leading that effort. And so under the direction with Don Clayton, they're really making some good strides with working with Teen Court and some of those other ancillary supports to attack this problem.
And I think our Northport students show us what our student body is capable of when we utilize them. So, and sorry, I'm a little all over the place, but the next, I want to piggyback, continuing on with the students. Can you talk to us a little bit about the incident that happened at Venice High School and what we have done to address the human error component of safety and security there?
Yeah, no, so at Venice High School, we had a weapon that was brought in through the AI detection system. No malfunction with the system itself. But making sure that staff, there's always the issue of human error in the process. And sometimes complacency can be your biggest enemy in this. When you're checking hundreds of bags and going through that process and you're never necessarily finding anything, it can lull you in to complacency. And so we have to make sure that regardless, every single day, every single check, every single buzz of the machines, you treat very, very seriously. And what we saw there was a lapse in some human error there that caused that student to go to their first period class. I will say it was students who were very proactive, and they heard something, they said something. And so hats off to students who overheard things and were able to mitigate that very, very quickly. We instituted immediately through Chief Enos mandatory retraining at all of our schools. Started with Venice the very next day because you got to make sure that that is consistently done in a way that, because sometimes when you go through the year, you may have new people introduced and you want to make sure that everyone's trained. So that was done. The guidance was updated, codified printed off and given copies, like everything there to ensure that everyone knows their roles and responsibilities in there. We cannot afford this type of mistake moving forward. We were fortunate, and look at this now, fortunately, as a wake-up call, as an opportunity to make corrections with nothing devastating happen. But that cannot be the case moving forward. So it's always about staying vigilant, and complacency is sometimes our biggest enemy. So we cannot be lulled into that.
Well, it sounds like, again, bravo to our students. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards.
So I want to also congratulate Polytech. Mrs. Ziegler and I participated in STEM Fair this week, which was a huge success. I love seeing teachers enthusiastic, students enthusiastic, community members. It was a wonderful, wonderful morning, and we had great results. So a great community event. I will tell you that I've listened intently to the conversation on this dais about the situation in Northport and vaping. And this board member is not satisfied with what I heard. And the reason why I'm not satisfied is that I know specifically that I've asked about vaping in Northport at least 3 times from this dais over the last year. And it started when we were in a town hall in Northport, and the Student Alliance made it very clear that they don't feel safe in the restrooms. And I've asked about it, and I've asked about it, and I've asked about it, to the point where we did have a situation where a principal used bad judgment and locked restrooms. That led to the transition of Mr. Shirley going into the situation. But I do not think this board has done enough in terms of, and I love Mrs. Barker's question, but I think we're shirking our responsibility of policy around vaping and discussing it and being a team with the superintendent. And we're not doing that. This is the same conversation, different channel, in the restrooms that happened at Riverview with smoking. It's just a few years later and the technology has changed about what they're abusing. And I know from my personal conversations with students and family members and teachers that there's a problem and we're not addressing it. And so what I will concede is that Mr. Connor has asked for time. We're coming up to a workshop, and I'm not asking for it to be on this workshop, but I want it on the next workshop. And we have to know that things are changing in Northport around vaping, and the students are safe, and the teachers are safe. It's enough. And I will say one other thing. If it doesn't show up on the workshop in 2 months, then the community should be upset, and I'll tell you why. Every time I ask for something in a workshop, Mr. Connor addresses it with me personally. He gives me a document. I think I asked for a Florida Center and how our group approach has happened. I asked for an extensive upgrade in terms of what we're teaching kids on social media, and he handed me, this is what we're teaching, which are the standards. And I said, I'm looking to teach better than the standards. So everything I asked for on this dais gets kiboshed by the board chair. I will tell you that everything I have asked for, I get a handout from the superintendent. And I really am asking, and I've asked for vaping. I've asked for it before. I want to see it in 2 months. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad I have the last word because I'd like to clear the record. So I believe that many board members have bring forward things, myself included, that get answered by the superintendent on a one-on-one. And so there's no special victimhood for you, unfortunately. Doesn't fit your typical narrative, Mr. Edwards. I will say that, so whatever you just said is completely nonsense as far as what that you're getting things kiboshed. There's no special unique privilege. I think that you bring thinking forward and the superintendent has provided. I don't know any beyond that, quite frankly. I will bring up the from the vaping piece, and this is something that I suggested previously for us to consider, and I do know that our student code of conduct is coming down the pipe again. It was a consideration about elevating the consequence. Maybe that's something we can talk about at the workshop when we do, because I understand that the student code of conduct is being reviewed right now, and it is a multifaceted process. But I believe that different approaches can or should be considered, but I also recognize with the new leadership in there, so it's a kind of a multi-pronged approach. But I think that I would entertain that conversation, and it's something that I had brought forward previously. I'm going to go back to my organized thoughts. I just wanted to address the very false statements that Mr. Edwards decided to put forward for whatever reason. I want, thank you for the STEM. The STEM fair was amazing. I think Mrs. Barker, you were there as well? Okay. So I have to say that it was a great opportunity. I brought my father as a volunteer, and I just want to thank all the volunteers in the community that show up every year for that. It is really just a great opportunity to showcase and see the extraordinary work that our students are doing. So many members of staff are there, so it just was an extraordinary day, and it was at Moat Marine, which was pretty cool. So I loved to see that. I wanted to address a couple of comments that were made. One, I had said before general public comment, and I'll restate it again, that we will have a conversation at our board workshop in regards to the policy the policy regards to disruptive demonstrations. The key word is disruptive, and something that I believe there's been just extraordinary focus, and the proof is in the results that's taken place in this district over the last 3 years, because we're getting the nonsense out, and we're not tolerating any more of the activism. We're not tolerating any more of the bad behavior. And it's a small portion, such a small portion of people that make up, whether it be students, whether it be a very, very small amount members of staff. We're just not tolerating anymore. If that's what you want to do, you can find another district, quite frankly, because that's just not the way we're moving. And I think that the same goes to with any of the misconduct that we addressed earlier, that we're elevating that bar, because if you go back to our focus is education, and ensuring our students are safe so that they can properly be educated is our priority every single day, in and out. And we have seen that it can be easily derailed by small percentage of activists, and that's what happened a couple years ago. And I'm so grateful for the board and for our leadership team, because it's a no-nonsense approach, and it is because they know what these students are capable of, which I think is so important, and it's again being proven in the data, and what our staff is capable of. And so I a tremendous amount of hats off to you guys for that commitment, for that steadfast approach. And yeah, things are going to come forward from a policy standpoint that we need to continue to move forward to ensure that we eradicate any of that nonsense. And I will continue to do that as long as I'm on this board. And I look forward to the conversation in the next workshop that will articulate what those goals are. And of course, will be done in a manner that is legally sound, that doesn't put our district at risk, but makes it abundantly clear the time and place, and that we are focused on learning, and we're not going to tolerate disruptions. There actually is a huge safety implication there too. We have a responsibility to ensure our students are safe and to ensure our campuses are safe. So that's where that will lie, and all of the questions that were brought forward will be answered during that workshop. That's our usual process, and we follow the policy making process in accordance with the Florida statutes. I will say that Mrs. Barker, you brought up the student piece, and I want to make sure that I hear you. I have an opportunity to meet with a variety of students in different capacities. Some invite you over to their clubs or a meeting with their families. And I do think there's a lot of great feedback that's provided. And I want to continue. I think the STAR students is a great opportunity as well. I have seen other districts do councils. I have seen it be successful. I've seen it be unfortunately weaponized a bit, and that's just broadly stating, just looking at full visibility. Right now, I think that there's a great opportunity to continue to encourage and engage our brilliant students at various levels. I think that we do so, even as outlined with Northport. I think there are a variety of ways in which we have always heard from our students, and I'm content with that. I think that, but I don't want to diminish the fact that they do have they're a valuable stakeholder. As one board member, do hear them. I also listen to a lot of the other stakeholders when it comes to the decisions that are put forward before us. I think that the superintendent does also have his board of student representatives that provide valuable insight. So again, I just want to recognize I do hear you. I think that I try to keep that door open. I have hesitation about bringing it into a different format only, and maybe I'd be open to hearing how we could do it in a way that would make it fair and balanced. But I'm not, that's my only take on it has been, I've seen mixed reviews, and I want to make sure it moves. If anything would be brought forward, be done so with fidelity and a balanced way, which I believe is absolutely your intent. So just wanted to share my thoughts on that. I think that's concluded all of my notes. The next monthly work session is March 3rd at 10 a.m. Due to spring break being the week of March 15th, the next regular board meeting is Tuesday, March 24th. Mr. Edwards, I see you recognized, and then I will recognize the superintendent.
Thank you. Under no circumstances do I want anyone to misunderstand that I think Mr. Connor kiboshes it. I believe, and this is my understanding of policy and my experience with how agendas are created, they're created by the board chair and the superintendent. And so we've had an experience where a certain group of folks on this dais have been in control of the board chair for a period of time. And so when Mrs. Barker or Mr. Edwards ask for things, they seem to get moved into the ether. And that's my conclusion, that every time I've asked for something to be put on a workshop, that it gets kiboshed. I'm not saying it's Mr. Connor or the board chair, but somewhere in there, it happens. So I want to clarify that to make sure that that is the procedure. Everyone should be aware of it, so that when board members are asking for something, that's the process by which it goes through, including asking for a special meeting. If the board chair or the superintendent don't feel that a special meeting is required, it doesn't happen. So I wanted to just clarify that because somehow people were surprised that I feel that way. I understand the procedure and the process. So make no mistake that it's not about Mr. Connor kiboshing it.
If I can just iterate, if you were actually at our board retreat where we went through the entire annual agenda for our workshops, it's intended to keep us on focus and really hit the really important topics. Mr. Connor provided that to us, and all board members had the opportunity who are in attendance to identify additional items that wanted to be there. I know you were not present, so perhaps that would have been an optimal time to do so. Mr. Connor.
Yeah, I think this is a good time for clarity for myself. Mr. Edwards, I do appreciate you clarifying the process. There is one additional piece of the process too. It's either by the chair, myself, or the majority of this board. So I'm going to ask, because there was a request made here on the dais about our workshop in 2 months regarding vaping. 2 clarifying questions. First, I'd like to know consensus of the board moving forward. Do we want to add that to the agenda? And secondly, can I get a little clarification as to the request for what you would like to see in terms of vaping? I will say this. There's a very active group at Northport regarding this, but this is systemic across all high schools, not in Sarasota County, across the nation. And there's a lot of work that's being done to educate, to enforce vaping. We've talked about this and trying to eradicate. It is not an easy problem to ascertain because there are so many ways that students are bringing this contraband onto campus. But we have a lot of initiatives underway that I think we could share and give you an update, and the potential to look at other opportunities there that the board may be interested in. So 2 things, majority of the board want to see that. Secondly, any clarifying items you would like for me to bring forth during that discussion.
I would just like to encourage board members to look at Robert's rules, and I thank you, Superintendent Connor, for reflecting on those. One board member is not, the constitutional officers on this dais do not operate as CEOs or as single officers. It is, as Superintendent Connor has stated, the chair and the superintendent have roles, and then you look at consensus, and I thank you for that clarification. I don't think it is becoming of our school district or best practices in school board chambers and on the dais to be citing things to the public that don't necessarily reflect how we operate. Thank you.
May I answer that very specific question, or?
Yes, you may.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would like to see it on whatever the most, expeditious board workshop is. And specifically, I would like to know, are the incidences of vaping down, up? And I remain interested in at least looking at vaping sensors. I know that that's an ongoing discussion. I know it's costly both in terms of human capital and the actual machine itself, but I think it's worth the discussion, particularly given the most recent events.
Well, I'm not for sure if we're following Robert's rules. I'm having a feeling we are not, but I will just go ahead and say that I am open to having the vaping because that is a big concern. And I talked to several people, adults and kids in Northport, because I spend a lot of time down there. And it is a concern. And from what I hear, they're very, very appreciative of the steps that have been taken, but it just goes on. I mean, and it's not, when we were in school, it was smoking. Cigarettes were the same size in the packets, and you couldn't hide them. The vaping, we were just always like one step behind because the product gets, but it's a very dangerous thing and very addictive. So I would be okay with that. I was saying, Mrs. Ziegler, Chair Ziegler, that I wasn't for sure we were following Robert's rule because Ms. Rose brought that up, but I would be okay with it going on our agenda.
Yeah, no, again, Mr. Connor, just because this, I think, moving into, did you get the clarification that you were looking for? Then if there were to be, because of a conversation you and I just had about student code of conduct as far as timeline, if that lines up as well, perhaps that's step 2. But I have no objection at all. I really do take at you, Mr. Edwards, with what your statement was, because I think, as a parent, I think to myself of bad behavior should not warrant, the reward. And I think what you just did was just wildly inappropriate. But I'm going down to the substance of what, I love that you guys love to interrupt all the time, and no one in the community gets to understand the immature behavior that's taking place in the chambers just because you disagree. So with that said, next outburst, although hopefully we're wrapping up, you'll be removed. So with that, I lost my train of thought, which is their whole intent. Focusing on the actual substance of it, I do think is an important policy discussion to get clarity, for there to be understanding of where we are, what we have been doing. There obviously is an incurred expense for some of these solutions. I think something you've made mention of is very important is how does one area fare comparably? Because I applaud those students for taking an active role in Northport. At the same token, I know we talk about this offline a lot, but is it much higher or worse there, or is it because we have really engaged students? And then how could we potentially use the engaged students to model some kind of program in our other high schools as well to kind of have further support? So that I think is very doable, and as long as you have the clarification that you need. Okay, Mrs. Rose. Unless you already talked, I'm sorry.
I already talked, but I just want to add, you brought up the student code of conduct, and I'm all for getting updates on the vaping and looking at what's going on right now, what your plan is. And I just want to make sure that we aren't forcing the issue in 4 weeks, and that what are the other priorities and how do they compete? I think that we've kind of leaped into a deep dive here of course, there isn't a board member that's going to say, nor I don't expect anyone in this dais or in this district to say that vaping isn't a priority, but we have several. And I look at it as aligned to the student code of conduct, and I also look to you as the CEO and your staff in what you are doing with leaders and the students that are participating and others in the task force. Is this the time in a couple weeks that we really address that with the emphasis and the dive that we need to? Do we just need some basic, where are we now? So I don't want to, speaking for myself, to say that everything has to happen in the next whole workshop is about that piece. That would be unfair to, in my opinion, unfair to you and what are the priorities in this district, that being absolutely one of them. So for my own purpose, I just look to this board to be clear on what we're asking of the superintendent.
No, I appreciate that, because that's kind of, you articulated where I was saying, and going back to, there was a schedule of topics for each workshop, understanding that there would be current events that would come up. But I think to Mrs. Rose's point, and where I was saying to the superintendent, aligning it with student code of conduct, from a scheduling standpoint, what makes the most sense. And I'm asking the superintendent right now. I'll recognize you shortly, Mr. Edwards.
We can bring forth an update, not at the next workshop. We're going to dedicate that time to, and on the April, maybe May, because we are also in the process of updating our student code of conduct. We were meeting with all of our constituent groups as we do every year. We're also waiting on legislation as the session ends to see if there's any updates that occur there. I will tell you, we did a revamping of the student code of conduct last year. I know sometimes things can seem as they were a long time ago. Lots have been done. I want to remind everyone, lots have been done in this area in the last year. And I think we just have to make sure we're not convoluting things such as vaping, fighting, bathrooms. Yes, there are some connections specifically in this case. And again, it also goes to some of the vaping rings that are occurring there where people are selling vapes, which was very much a part of this particular issue. So, there's a lot to unpack in all of that. And I want to make sure that we do due diligence to do that at a workshop. But I also want to praise what has been done, where we're at, what we're looking at in terms of, I know Dr. Green has done a lot of research on sensors, and we've had some verbal commitments of community members who said they would be willing to pay for that type of technology. Nothing's come to fruition at this point. But yes, I think in 2 workshops from now, we can bring you an update.
Thank you very much. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. I am not talking about conduct. I am not talking about fighting. All of that is very clear in our policies, and that's not the discussion. What is the discussion is the vaping situation that has reoccurrence over and over again, specifically at Northport. From my perspective, I can't speak for what other school board members see or don't see, or what conversations they're part of or not part of. But I'm telling you that I have been involved in very serious conversations with parents and students about an ongoing problem. That's not to say it doesn't happen in other schools. It's not to say that it doesn't happen across the nation. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be talking about what specific remedies can we do, and can we get Northport parents and conversation going, because I've had lots of suggestions, no different than when we went through the Schools of Hope, that gave us great suggestions from the community about ways that they feel that they could help. So that is why I asked for it not to be this month, because I know how important the budget conversation is. And I know that we've spent so much time talking about nonsense up on this dais when it is budget, budget, budget. But I felt the need to bring to this dais's attention that we're not really partnering with the superintendent on ways to do a better job on vaping here in Sarasota County.
Okay, so Mr. Connor, you have your clarity into what you need, is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Wonderful. So I'll repeat, the next monthly work session is Tuesday, March 3rd at 10 a.m. And then we'll have spring break, and the following board meeting will be March 24th at 10 a.m. If there are no additional comments.
Can I make a couple comments? Is it possible?
Certainly, go ahead.
Again, I want to thank the board for having me here, and Superintendent Connor. There's a couple things I want to address. As you all know, I stated that I am the student body president at Venice High School, and there have been rumors swirling about Venice High School not being a safe campus, kids not feeling safe, slandering Venice's name, and I'd like to set that straight. Venice is a very safe campus. We have strong SROs, we have a strong administration team, we have a strong counseling team, and we have very involved students, as we've talked about here. We have lots of great involved students, and I don't appreciate people online slandering Venice, especially people who don't even live in Sarasota County. So I want to set the record straight on that. And second of all, with everything that's been going on in the boardroom today in the last couple months, I thought that it would be nice to mention that students and teachers and parents, administration, everyone's tired of the theatrics. Like we don't like the politics. We want it out. It takes away from all the other great things we have at Venice and all the other schools. So thank you so much again for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for those comments. I appreciate them, especially, we know how special Venice is. Venice High School is all of the Venice schools, but and I appreciate you restating that. We did mention that earlier today when we had the opportunity to speak with our STAR students. And certainly when moments like this have occur, it gives us an opportunity to address any of the misinformation, but to recertify, I believe that our schools are incredibly safe. We have great leadership that have done a lot to invest and ensure that we do have safe campuses, but also it takes all of us to ensure that that it remains safe. So thank you for those comments. So if there are no additional comments, without objection, then we stand adjourned.